Live to a press conference in London with the Russian Ambassador Alexander Yakovenko.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming today. Unfortunately, we couldn't accommodate all of you. We got more requests than the size of this room. Last time when we met, some British journalists wrote that the ambassador was smiling too often. I promise you not to smile, at least maybe several times. But I'll be happy to see your smiles, and I hope that you will be happy after this press conference. Actually, I'm planning to cover two subjects today. The first one is the situation around about the Salisbury and the Skripal family. And the second one is about Syria, which is very important for us. But you probably know this is the report which we are going to publish today as soon as we'll finish the press conference. And we prepared dozens of copies in a hardcover, but this report will be available on our website. And the difference between the books and that report will be that this will be updated on a regular basis. As soon as we'll get more information, we'll definitely put some changes in this report. This is 33 pages, and you will find the information about the position of Britain, Russian position in a summary, and of course you will get all the questions that we put to the British side, and everything, I mean all the answers or actually no answers we received from the British side. And I think this will be quite a good report, and this is the report of the embassy, and it's based on all factual information we got today from the let's say 1 month, even more, of the investigation. So let me start with the Skripal and Glushkov cases. Nearly 6 weeks have passed since the poisoning of Sergei and Yulia Skripal in Salisbury, and exactly a month since the Prime Minister Theresa May accused Russia of this crime. The British government still hasn't presented any evidence in support of its position that would confirm their official version. The investigation is conducted in the most non-transparent way. The British government refused to cooperate at all with the Russian authorities, which have not received a single request for assistance. The Foreign and Commonwealth Office is continuously ignoring our legitimate requests and questions concerning the condition of Mr. and Mrs. Skripal versions of this incident. Without any explanations, the British government continues to violate its obligation under the Vienna Convention, 1963, and the Consular Convention, this is the bilateral convention, 1968. We're not allowed to see our citizens, talk to doctors, have no idea about the treatment the Russian nationals receive. The British authorities consistently deny consular access to Yulia Skripal and her father. We cannot be sure that Yulia's refusal to see us is genuine. The British government continues to conceal information regarding whereabouts of Yulia Skripal, who was discharged from hospital and allegedly transferred to either a safe location or, I'm quoting, military base or well-guarded country house. We have every reason to see such actions as an abduction of 2 Russian nationals, or at least as they are foreseeable isolation. Statement made by Scotland Yard on behalf of Yulia Skripal only confirms our suspicions. We get the impression that the British government is deliberately pursuing the policy of destroying all possible evidence, classifying all remaining materials, and making an independent and transparent investigation impossible. The cooperation between the UK and the OPCW, this is the international organization, is non-transparent as well. Instead of using the normal OPCW procedures, whereby the UK could have engaged Russia directly or through the OPCW Executive Council, the UK has chosen to cooperate bilaterally with the OPCW Technical Secretariat under an arrangement the details of which are unknown. My letter to the Foreign Secretary Johnson remains unanswered. It looks like that he is not ready for the conversation, or maybe he has lack arguments. According to British media reports, the National Security Council had seized control over the media coverage of the Salisbury incident. All of this is yet another evidence of double standards of the British government that destroy people's life and the basics of interstate relations for the sake of narrow domestic political interest. This is, in short, about the Skripal case, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. But let me now turn to another case, namely the murder of Mr. Nikolai Glushkov, which happened exactly a month ago, on the 12th of March. He's a Russian citizen. The embassy is not satisfied with the current level of interaction with authorities. On the 6th of April, Foreign Office invited us to contact the Metropolitan Police directly. This Monday, I sent a letter to the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Mrs. Cressida Dick, with a request for a meeting in order to discuss the case in details. So far, I didn't get any answer. So I believe that the Metropolitan Police is not ready to talk to the ambassador. They're not giving any information. The investigation is classified, and we have no idea how it's going on. That's another example of how the British government is fulfilling its international obligations. And from my point of view, it is unacceptable. So this is, all these two cases are good food for thought. And I'll be happy if you read the report about that is some kind of a print of the press conference which was made by the General Prosecutor's Office of Russia in connection with the Litvinenko case, the death of the Berezovsky and some others. All these cases have one thing in common. All the papers and everything are classified. So we have no idea what was in these materials, and this is exactly what's happening today with the Skripal and also with the Glushkov. So this is about my first issue. Now I'm coming back to Syria. The situation in Syria and the military actions the US is threatening to undertake, along with its UK and French allies, are the focus of attention today. A few words about the reason, or rather the pretext, for these threats. The alleged use of chemical weapons in Douma, part of eastern Ghouta, enclave near Damascus. The Syrian government had been repeatedly warning for at least a month that rebels prepared to stage a provocation with the chemical weapons in this very area. Such reports indeed appeared on the 7th of April, again from the same already notorious groups, White Helmets, who received support of the UK government and have been proved more than once to the staging attacks. Other groups include the Syrian American Medical Society and the Syrian Observatory for the Human Rights, which is here in London, and it consists of 2 people. And they are operating, of course, in the United States. Syrian authorities were immediately blamed by the US and its allies for this so-called attack. Again, no tangible proof was presented and no questions asked. I was watching yesterday the different stories from the United States, and I have a strong impression that most of the conclusions were made on this, based on the social media. Why would Damascus use chemical weapons in a situation where peaceful evacuation of militants was underway and the area was being liberated? That's a good question. Russian services for chemical and radiological security visited this suspected site of the incident in Douma and didn't find any traces of chemical substances there. No persons treated for chemical poisoning were found in local hospitals. We're interested in seeing independent experts there so they can make all the necessary tests. We welcome the OPCW Director General's decision to send a fact-finding mission team to Douma at the request of the Syrian government. We believe it should be deployed as soon as possible, and we are ready to assist them. On my information, they are coming on the ground tomorrow. But I believe that any delay may be used to carry out military strikes to cover up all the evidence or lack thereof on the ground. We would like them to engage in a thorough examination in line with the rules of the organization. That means visiting the place of the alleged incident and taking samples, not just remotely studying social media messages and pictures. 2 draft UN Security Council resolutions proposed by Russia with the aim to create a neutral investigative mechanisms were blocked by the same 3 permanent members of the Security Council, who are now threatening to act as the prosecutor, a judge, and an executor, punishing Syria for an alleged crime that no one has investigated. It's clear that the goal of these unsubstantiated lies and the new blunted campaign against Syria is to discredit the Syrian government and to justify the possible use of force by external actors. Any military action against the Syrian government is against international law, against the Charter of the United Nations. The infamous aggression against Iraq in 2003 immediately comes to mind when then the Prime Minister Tony Blair deliberately misinformed the Parliament and the public. It is well known how it's ended, with the Chicot inquiry delivering a commentary verdict. But I watched a few days ago the interview of Tony Blair over the British television, and I was really surprised. I just want to take 45 seconds of your time just to show that interview.
Britain's controversial former Prime Minister Tony Blair has looked to push his country into yet another military conflict, this time in Syria. In an interview, Blair claimed that the UK should back a US intervention against Damascus in the wake of the alleged chemical attack. The man who teamed up with Washington to invade Iraq in 2003 had this to say.
This will be action in support of military intervention by the US. If you don't respond to this, to the use of chemical weapons against civilians, then obviously, we're ignoring what the international community has said, which is this is unacceptable, and those that use such methods should be held to account. Even if we take the action, which I think we will have to do, it doesn't solve the longer-term question of what happens in Syria.
I gave an order for British forces to take part in military action in Iraq. My judgment as Prime Minister is that this threat is real, growing, and of an entirely different nature to any conventional threat to our security that Britain has faced before. The programme in the form that we thought it was did not exist in the way that we thought, so I can apologise for that. I can also apologise, by the way, for some of the mistakes in planning, and certainly our mistake in our understanding of what would happen once you removed the regime. For all of this, I express more sorrow, regret, and apology that you may have known or could believe.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing very dangerous developments in Syria. The current US politics, supported almost mechanically by France and the UK, is becoming a threat to the peace and security in the region and beyond. And we believe that the international community, not to remain idle and voice concern over the inconsiderable actions the US and its allies are planning to take. Now I'm going to come back to the Eastern Ghouta and Duma town. And as a result of the complex humanitarian operation, just listen to the figures, over 170,000 people have been evacuated from the Eastern Ghouta. More than 40,000 people have left Duma town via safe corridors. Russian military police entered the city yesterday. And I want to take just 40 seconds of your attention just to show you a very short film, 40 seconds, how the Russian military entered the Duma.
В городе Дума продолжается операция по освобождению мирных жителей и вывод боевиков. Благодаря переговорам Российского центра по примирению враждующих сторон с лидерами группировок удалось освободить 56 заложников. Город также покинули более 3600 боевиков и членов их семей. Активные боевые действия не ведутся уже вторые сутки. В Думе побывал наш специальный корреспондент Александр Yakovenko.
This is how it looks like now.
Колонна бронеавтомобилей «Тигр» военной полиции Минобороны России впервые едет по городу Дума, который еще не до конца покинули террористы. Местные жители приветствуют наших военных. Повсюду горит бронетехника боевиков, танки, артиллерийские и зенитные установки. Террористы сами их подошли, чтобы не оставлять трофеев для сирийской армии. В городе слышна стрельба. Боевикам разрешают взять с собой только по 2 магазина. Вот они палят в воздух, избавляясь от лишних патронов. И вот, наконец-то, самая больница, которая якобы подверглась химической атаке. Находится в подвальном помещении. Российские офицеры радиационной, химической и бактериологической защиты, что прибыли сюда, проходят внутрь, изучают все помещения, общаются с персоналом и пациентами.
В ходе посещения лечебного заведения установлено, что пострадавшие симптомами поражения отравляющими веществами типа зарин и хлор в госпиталь не поступали. У осмотре пациентов в госпитале отсутствовали признаки как поражения нервно-паралитическим газом типа зарин, так и отравления хлором.
Никаких тысяч, сотен, десятков, да хотя бы одного пострадавшего в больнице не нашли. Российские специалисты намерены более детально изучить территорию вокруг больницы и опросить свидетелей. Уже в ближайшие дни Думу должны покинуть все боевики, а сам город прийти под контроль сирийской армии. Александр Яковенко, Михаил Викин, Михаил Немирин из Думы, Восточной Гуты, Сирия.
Спасибо. So that was a few days ago. Now the Duma is free, and in general the situation in Eastern Ghouta is stabilizing gradually. Government forces have reclaimed control of Eastern Ghouta. The area is thus almost clean of terrorists and extremists who have been for years killing and injuring civilians, shelling Damascus. Local residents have already started returning to their homes, thousands of them. The evacuation have been monitored by the UN experts. The residents who left their homes have been placed in temporary centers and provided with the food and basic necessities. The Russian military has delivered 518 tons of humanitarian aid to the people in need, and this was just done in a few days. So the withdrawal of civilians and the evacuation of the militants are carried out absolutely transparently. The Russian Defense Ministry website continues to offer live broadcasts from video cameras located in Eastern Ghouta. Hostilities in Duma town have been ceased for 7 days now. Since the end of February, just listen very carefully to the figures, 37,297 rebels in total have left Duma. The Russian side continues to negotiate the release of hostages taken by terrorists. As a result of agreements with the Jaish al-Islam, 195 hostages have already been freed. And I'll tell you that, remember the stories over the British TV, even 3 weeks ago, you know, all these cries about the humanitarian situation in Duma and in Eastern Ghouta, you know, just calls to freeze the situation there, so leave these people, there were calls to leave these people in the hands of the terrorists. And I think that the Syrian army, you know, made a very right decision to free all of them, and now all of them are safe. And this is absolutely different approach, which was offered by London. And I'm about to finish. And what I want to say that the current situation throughout Syria urgently requires coordinated international efforts to promote peace, including humanitarian assistance. Everybody knows, at least not here, not in London, but in other parts of the world, how difficult the situation is in Raqqa. It was just, most of the city was destroyed by the US and its allies, and the poor epidemiologic state of Raqqa remains a source of our grave concern. And I want to show you Raqqa today. I mean, the shooting was made by the American television, just for another 40 seconds, just to give you the sense why we have to help these people. So this is Raqqa. Almost dead. Nobody's there. There are a lot of bodies, you know, dead bodies, you know, in the different places. How to rebuild it? I think that's enough. Thank you. What I want to say is that we definitely need the international community to help Syrian people. That's exactly what we are going to do. That's exactly what the other countries are going to do. And we hope that one day the EU will raise its sanctions against the Syrian people. Probably you're not aware, but the European Union, as well as the Britain, of course, they imposed so many sanctions that it's very difficult to restore the economy. So on one hand, this should be the, of course, humanitarian aid, and the second one is that the world is watching you, I mean the members of the EU. I would like to at the end of my remarks, I would like just to quote the Bible. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. So that's a good for thought for all of us. And I'm ready now to take all your questions, starting from the front row.